You are listening to the Barbra Show, the place where we discuss all that really matters. We will cover all you need to know about lifestyle, health, spirituality, and plus so much more. Are you ready? Let's dive in. You are listening to episode 14 with Joanna Mcewen. Joanna is qualified sound practitioner with an MA in Applied Anthropology, teacher, healer, and TED Talk speaker. Joanna's TED Talk on serendipity has over 1.3 million views. In this episode, we will talk about vibration, frequencies, how do we raise and balance our vibration. Joanna will explain how sound affects our nervous system and how we can use sound to our own advantage. We will also tap into the subject of cancer cells, and before I forget, the last 30 minutes of this episode contains a sound healing session by Joanna. Let's dive in. Welcome, Joanna, to my podcast. My first question for you is, what are you grateful for?
Oh gosh, what am I grateful for? Honestly, I'm grateful to be sober. I am grateful to be living the life I'm living now, because actually there was a time when my life was not that great. So I'm pretty much grateful every day for that.
Brilliant. I love it. I don't think I had this one before. I had loads of things. I'm grateful for my dog. I'm grateful for health. So this one's very good. Thank you very much for sharing it. So let's talk about vibration and frequencies. This topic is very popular, especially nowadays. And I believe that people are now aware of the fact that we have our own unique vibration and our bodies hold certain frequencies. So could you dive in deeper into this subject and share your knowledge and your views?
We are vibrational beings. We are all made up of a variety of frequencies. So our organs each have their own particular frequency. Our bodies have highways of energy passing through them. If you know acupuncture, that's a good example. We have different energy centers. So everything is vibrating. Our cells vibrate. The mitochondria in our cells need sort of energy and vibration to communicate with each other. And of course, I think we're much more understanding of sort of the idea of vibration all around us now. We have the internet, Wi-Fi. There's all sorts of waves all around us, and so for our health, the way that the vibrations work with our health is that when we are at our optimum frequency, when everything is zipping along at a nice pace, then we feel great. Our lives flow, we're feeling vibrant. People really respond to us because when they see us on some subconscious level, we are obviously, feeling good and confident and healthy. When we start to see patterns of behavior that maybe are not beneficial to us, we start to get stressed. All these, our thoughts are vibration, things we eat are vibration. So when we start to do things that maybe aren't beneficial, if we start to get stressed and things start to get a little bit heavier, so the very fine vibration then starts to become denser. And so you may start to feel this like a headache or tight shoulders, lower back pain, because then you start to hold yourself in a particular way, which then means that the energy flow in your body is compromised, which then in turn affects the vibrations. And so we have a very clear synergy between the health and vibrations of our body and, the physical aspects and how it's affected. So I trailed off slightly there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely does. So how do we raise our vibration?
So the term raise our vibration is slightly controversial because I think some people, think there's this kind of, we're always reaching up. But I think it's actually about becoming our fullest selves. So it may be a raising of the vibration. It may be we're feeling very dense. And so to become our fullest self, to become our optimum frequency, sound is a very easy, quick, effective way of doing that. And the sound can work, internally. You can do it yourself, or you can have a practitioner like myself come and help support you in that. But it's one of the, the oldest things that human beings have ever done. You look at the didgeridoo, the flutes, the clapping as well is, that kind of idea of rhythm. So rhythm and vibration and frequency are all sort of intertwined.
Why does sound help to kind of, in your words, I would say, balance the vibration?
So you've got two terms that are used. So you have resonance. And so when you have a particular frequency that matches another one, you can kind of increase the amplitude of that particular frequency. So, for example, if you have an opera singer singing to the same frequency as a crystal bowl or crystal glass, that's how she manages to shatter it, because the resonance is just so strong and the amplification is so strong. So if you can imagine that, we're kind of batteries running a little bit low, maybe like we're on like a bit of a dimmer switch, and we want to, actually come out and really feel vibrant, that resonance really helps to energize us. Entrainment is another term, and that's the idea of a stronger frequency in training a weaker one. So this can be used for the good and the not so beneficial, shall we say, because if you've got something that is the strong frequency, that is therapeutic sound, that means that if you are kind of out of kilter and out of sync, it can help bring you back into rhythm. And I think the way it works with our brain is we have the left and right hemispheres of our brain. So if you're using something like song or the clapping, the drum, a Himalayan bowl, which I'll play you later, all this helps is to help regulate and bring the left and right hemispheres of the brain in sync. And what that has is like a cascade effect on the physical level of all the hormones. So the hormones are rebalanced, the energy centers in the body are rebalanced. And it's, when you use sound, it's kind of a mix between some very practical, very obvious physical effects, and also some effects that perhaps, you can't see quite as clearly, but you'll see it in somebody who's had a sound treatment. They will quite literally look lighter, brighter, clearer. But it's also, it kind of works where you need it. So if you're very low on energy, it will help energize you. If you're super hyper, it will help calm you, because what it is it's about balance, and it's about coming into your personal optimum frequency. So wherever you're out of balance, it will help align you.
So can we use our own voice to raise our vibration or balance our vibration?
Absolutely. I think what I learned through my training, I have, these wonderful instruments, the gong, the crystal bowls, and they're all very powerful and they have very specific effects. However, what I've learned is the voice is the most powerful, whether we use it, to support somebody else or on ourselves. So humming, even if you think, oh my gosh, I can never sing, I hate my voice, blah, 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 it is humming. Humming is the first way we can start to build that vibration in our body. Then it's creating, whether it's humming or toning, and by toning I mean like the vowel sound. So A-E-I-O-U. Certain traditions have different sounds for the different energy centers in our body. And so by using your visualization skills as well, you can start to direct the sound at different parts of your body. So I'm talking energy centers. I use the word chakras. That might freak out some people. I don't know. I have to be careful what words I use in what particular environment. But say even, for instance, you've got like my back's killing me. Okay, so can you get yourself in a position that's aligned? So that means lying down, or maybe if you're sitting in a chair, your feet flat on the floor, sitting up nice and straight. Because what we're trying to feel is this energy flowing easily up and down the spine and throughout our organs and our bodies, and just start playing around with different sounds, different tones. And sometimes these sounds are not always, I'm going to say pleasant, if you can see my fingers, in inverted commas. Dissonant. There's nothing wrong with a dissonant sound, because dissonant means, if we were talking about intervals, you've got, say, maybe a interval of the second or the seventh. So you have the fundamental note, which is, the bass note, the first note, and the intervals are, say we're looking at the piano, is how many keys you move up from that fundamental note. So the second would be C and D. We go up to the seventh. I'm trying to think what that is. But the point about the dissonant is it creates real power and energy, and you can feel it. It really kind of cuts through, and then you then resolve into maybe something more stable, like the fifth or the eighth. And I think so. If you're there and you're like, "Oh, my neck really hurts," you may find actually you don't want to do a ooh sound or a air sound or whatever. It may be like, I have no idea. It may be something that really your body just kind of, and you'll start to feel it. And you're like, oh yeah, it's a bit like a massage with sound. And you're there and you can feel it in your body. And then it will gradually, hopefully change and start to become something a bit smoother, a bit more rhythmical perhaps. And that's how you're then sort of resolving that sort of stuck energy. But it's being confident, I suppose, to play around with the sound and to enjoy it and just to play. And not to take it so seriously. It's, sound and music and rhythm is a lot of fun as well.
Absolutely. And I love how you said that the sound kind of goes where it's supposed to be. Because when I did my course on sound healing, I've been told that dissonance is something what you shouldn't be using, because that's kind of like removing the spirits from the house, and just like, it's like kind of supports the negative stuff. Really resonates with what you just said, because it completely makes sense. So I suppose what type of dissonance and what type of volume you do it. Is that correct?
Yes, but also I think it's our intention. I think the difficulty I have with a lot of the scientific research around things is intention really isn't mentioned as a variable, but it has a huge impact on things. And so, what is your intention with the dissonance? And I think also not to leave it hanging there. So, for example, I would very rarely do a sound treatment on somebody, have a very dissonant. So I use my crystal bowls quite a lot and my voice, and that really allows me to play around with the harmonics. And sometimes I can really kind of get some, which if you heard it may sound a little bit screechy and dissonant. You're like, oh, what is that? I would never leave someone there. I would always resolve it. And I think that's where the power is. It's the dissonance, which I may add, there's a guy called Fabien Mamon. He was the guy that his research was the reason why I started doing the sound, because I read his research about sound and cancer cells, and I was like, what is this? So for those of you who haven't heard of Fabien Mamon, he's a French gentleman, and he researched cancer cells and harmonics. And according to his research, the seventh exploded the cancer cells because they were too rigid, and the seventh was very dissonant. If you get the opportunity, I'm going to do a little plug here for the person I trained with, the College of Sound Healing. They sell CDs. And the reason why I'm saying this is one of the CDs has the different harmonics on there. If you lie down and listen to this CD, which I had to do for my training many moons ago now, but when I did that, I lay down and you're just starting to experience, what does it feel like for you? So you're lying there, and I didn't know anything about these different harmonics at this time. And I got this particular harmonic, and I remember what I wrote was, I felt like I was pinned down and being scrubbed out on the inside. I didn't even know what that meant. All I knew was I was being pinned down and I felt like I was being scrubbed. And then I went on to the octave, which then resolved it, went, okay. And then when I did the looking at my notes, it was like, wow, okay, that was the harmonic that, according to Fabien Mamon, exploded the cancer cells. So this is really, really powerful stuff. But then you need to resolve it into the perfect fifth or into the octave. because that's the equivalent of silence. That's the stillness, you know. So we're very, very active, and then we come into and then that sigh that I did there, that's my nervous system. So that's the kind of the sigh is your nervous system just going, okay, I can relax now. And so whether you're doing yoga, whether you're doing sound, you need to have that pause to allow whatever work you have done, whatever changes you have done, to settle in your body and to allow your nervous system to, you know, assimilate it and be reprogrammed, I suppose.
Let go, right?
Yeah. And it's kind of, I see it like breathing. You know, we have this society that's very kind of go get 'em, we've got to go and achieve and success and whatever that may be, however that looks for you. But there's only so much giving out we can do before we have to come back, you know. So we breathe and it ebbs and flows. And so if you are to do any breathing exercises, again, you'll see, you know, you'll have your breathing in and out, but then there's a moment at the top of the breath and a moment at the bottom of the breath that's just pure stillness. And that still point is where the healing takes place. You know, we have the activity, but in order to be able to receive it and to really accept it into our bodies as a new frequency, we have to have those moments of stillness.
Yeah, thank you very much for mentioning it, because silence is very important. It has the same power as the sound has. I want to talk about the cancer cells, but before we do that, I want to talk about Gregorian chants and Baroque music. So when I was little, I grew up in a family. Classical music was everywhere, morning, evening, afternoon, and I always felt attracted to Gregorian chants and Baroque music, and there is some specific about this. Can you talk about that?
So with the Baroque music, that's music that's very much based around the perfect fifth, and of course there's types of music that are not, but there's it's very slow, it's very rhythmical to like a heartbeat, where the perfect fifth is very stable but open, is the kind of the description of a perfect fifth. And what this does, it just helps capture our heartbeats. It helps soothe our nervous system. So from the science side of things, if you look at the polyvagal theory is all about how our nervous system is primed to respond to things and how that affects us physically, mentally, emotionally. So if you're playing something like Pachelbel's canon, which was, you know, I know it gets used a lot for weddings now, and it's a bit of a cliche, but for me, it was a complete lifesaver. I literally used to lie on my floor in my bedroom as a teenager with these speakers by my ears playing this classical music, because it was the only thing that would bring me down from whatever angst I was in. And the Gregorian chants. So again, before I knew anything about this, I used to be a DJ, and I used to go and find all these bits of vinyl. And I remember finding this Gregorian chant record and playing it, because I absolutely was entranced by it. And my flatmates were like, "What is this? This is not house music." Like these deep, sonorous, like monks. And I believe like it's the solfeggio frequencies, which I haven't really explored a lot personally. I know this is a sort of a big subject in the world of you know, sound healing, therapeutic sound. But what I do know on an instinctual level, on my own experience, is again, it was just very soothing to me. And I think, you know, we could look at it two ways: specific frequencies or just our nervous system, because that's what we're working with the sound, is working with our nervous system.
Can we talk about protection shadows? And do you think we need to be energetically protected?
Ideally, we are transparent. We allow things to move freely through us. And so therefore, if we, cut ourselves off and go, protect, I must protect myself, you're kind of cutting yourself off from things that, maybe you don't want to cut yourself off from. But there is also an element, I do believe, if you start looking at the traditions, the shamanic traditions, this is when it comes down to intention. I think we would be foolish to think that we live in a world where there is no shadow, because there is shadow. And so therefore, it is about self-care, I would say, rather than protecting. So for example, the shamanic traditions, like the Andean Indians, there's lots of smudging that goes on, the visualization of the light, because light is obviously on the spectrum of frequency. And so I do a lot of work of self-care around that, because my intention is to to bring healing, whatever that form of healing takes, to the person I'm working with. And I'm more of a conduit. It's like I'm not doing it. I'm letting the sound, I'm merely the facilitator in all of this. I'm creating this vibrational space, which I've now learnt through lockdown doesn't have to be physically. I've actually had some really powerful healings take place over the internet, which has really blown my mind, I'll be honest with you. But I think it's about ego as well. I get, my ego needs to be right out of the situation, because I think the healing takes place with a person when they're released from their own sort of physical and ego expectations as well. And the sound is a really powerful way of being released from that part of ourselves. But it all does come down to intention. So I think, with anything, it can be used for benefit, or it can be used for, I don't want to say, not so beneficial. Like I've been reading a book recently from a guy who was taking his autistic son to various shamans around the world, a guy called Rupert Isaacs, I think his name is, who I spoke to recently. It's very exciting. We've got big plans. But that aside, anyway, moving on. Yeah, his experience initially was with the Bushmen of the Kalahari, and they were trying to. He met them as they were trying to maintain their traditional hunting ground, their territory, and for them, having sort of bad magic or voodoo or whatever is perfectly, they don't agree, the healers don't agree with it, but to them it's a reality that they will have people who work on the dark side who will try and put the curses on and do the bad magic. So there's a certain level of understanding which we don't really get. And I think if you're looking at sort of the science behind it, you could call it the placebo effect. And I think this is the thing about the intention. It's like intention is really, really powerful. We know that, atoms behave differently when we observe them. Like that has been scientifically proven now. And so if we accept that as okay, that's a reality, why wouldn't, our visualizations, our intentions have a very, very profound effect, whatever way you want to use it? And I think this is the thing about, our intention. And do I go around doing, big sort of, protections or anything like that? No, I don't. But I am very conscious of, when I do a sound, a healing on someone, I should neither be feeling supercharged or drained. It should have no effect on me personally, because I am merely the conduit that it comes through. If I'm working using the medicine wheel, again, I can, perhaps go to, psychic realms on behalf of my, client. but for me, it is, you know, you learn how to do that. But again, it shouldn't be affecting me personally. Although saying that, again, in this book, people were, you know, going, you know, the shamans were having a very physical effect. But yes, mumble, don't know.
I think it's all about perception as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I believe in shadow. I believe in all that stuff. I know it does exist, but it's not affecting me. Do you know what I mean? It's not. Whatever you're going to say, and that's my belief, and that's my thing. You know, like I don't have I'm no.
I think it's where, well, this is the thing about becoming our you know, our fullest self. It's like, and you know, lots of different spiritual religions and beliefs say similar things, but when we are centered, when we are grounded, when we are our fullest self, we are able to respond to the world rather than reacting to it. So whatever is going on out there, it isn't affecting our inner core. And whether that is on a very fine spiritual vibration, or whether that is because your neighbor is sort of throwing a wobbly about something, you know, we are kind of in our own little cocoon. This is what I love when I do my protections. Well, it's more a case of, I imagine my, you know, my heart, my inner light growing bigger and bigger and bigger, and I have it coming around me, rather than trying to wall myself off, and I'm really small in the middle, and I've got to protect myself from all the baddies out there, or whatever. What I do is I do it internally and grow it outwards. And my first experience of that was actually way before I knew anything about energy, anything about sound, was when I used to go clubbing. And I remember being in this absolute dive, and I was dancing away, and some guy came up to me and, you know, we're talking about sort of whether it's subconscious, whether it was feeling his vibes, I don't know. But this guy started there, on the surface, perfectly reasonable, dancing. And I all of a sudden imagined, and it came out of nowhere, this little spark of light within me. And this spark of light just grew and grew and grew. And me and this guy, we were just dancing in this club, and I was growing this light around me, because I knew instinctively this guy was not a good guy. And I did that. And when it was fully around me, he said, he hadn't said a word to me up until this point. And then he said to me, he goes, you can at least give me a hug. And I was like, no, you're right. And that for me was the very, very first time where, you know, looking back on it after I started learning all about energy and sound, I was like, whoa, that was even bigger than I thought it was. You know, and that's the thing about, you know, trust your vibes. It's what we get taught as children is that we see things very clearly, we sense things, we're very sensitive, we see things clearly, and then we're told by trusted people, no, you're wrong there. No, you got that wrong. And so what then happens is you stop trusting your vibes, because you're being told by a trusted adult that what your perception is incorrect. And so you start to downplay it, or you change it. I'm wrong. And actually, it's taken me an entire lifetime to go, no, actually, I trust my vibes now, because if I'm confused about something, it's probably confusing. If I feel a certain way about something, I might not intellectually be able to explain to you why I feel a certain way. But if my daughter says, oh, I don't like that person, I may ask her why, but if she can't explain it, I don't dismiss it. I'm like, okay, cool. You know, for you, that person is not a good person to be around. And I trust you when you say that. And I think that's the thing about the vibration and the energy, is when we are balanced, we're coming from a place of love, we're coming from a place of groundedness and wholeness, and, you know, we're coming from a good place. You know, that and that's the thing. If we all took our time, not worrying about Baggins over there and Billy Bob over there or whoever, you know, if we just took ourselves and focus on ourselves, because I know from my own experience, when I focus on myself, I'm the only person I can change. I'm the only person I have any influence over, really. And so if I know that I'm coming from a place of balance, that I've done everything I can, I've done my meditation, I've eaten well, I've done my exercise, I've done my gratitude list, I'm being of service to people, I'm living my life as best I can be, that when I have an experience with someone, I can pretty much say that I'm perceiving it correctly, if that makes sense, perceiving it from a good place. And sometimes I still have to go away and reflect upon it. But I think, if we all just had our own little pockets of light, if we all just did, looked after ourselves, and everybody, we're talking about raising the vibration, everything would just be lifted up out of this mire of bleh that can be out there.
Absolutely. And I think that's why it's very important to do the inner child work and reconnection to ourselves. And I love the way how you explain it to it, because everybody's looking at it from a different spectrum, but nobody actually see the inside of it. So yeah, so well done. Thank you. Can we, before we talk about manifestation, serendipity and all that kind of stuff, can we talk about the cancer cells? So I would call them not cancer cells, not necessarily. We can talk about the cells which are unwell, and how can we help those people who suffered?
Yes, so
who suffers.
Oh, it's really tricky, because I think you're going to have it's a very emotive subject, and there are going to be people who could very well take offence at what I say, and I do acknowledge that everybody is on their own particular path, and I think understanding what healing is, because healing doesn't necessarily mean cured of cancer. Healing could be a form of acceptance. Your journey is not my journey, but what I do know is, there's a very clear link between like our lymphatic system, for example. When we sit in sludge, it has been said that our fat cells and even the cancer cells are the last form of the body trying to rebalance itself. So if we take it that our bodies are not attacking us, but they're trying to rebalance ourselves, bring ourselves back into, they're trying to protect us. So we can look at clearing away the sludge. And so this can be done on a physical level. So if you're doing yoga, Kundalini yoga in particular, anything that works the lymphatic system, because the lymphatic system only works through squeezing, and it can't do it by itself. It has to have movement. So trampolining, fantastic for the lymphatic system. So you're doing physical stuff. So you're bouncing on the trampoline, you're getting stuff moving, you're eating high vibrational foods, to get rid of the gunky stuff like the dairy, get rid of the red meat. There's nothing wrong with dairy, nothing wrong with meat. I eat meat. But if you are under pressure, you want to relieve the pressure. It takes a lot to digest stuff like this. So if you're already out of balance, remove it. High vibrational foods. If you think about the plants, they're absorbing the light energy. So by eating the plants, you're absorbing that light energy. And then the sound comes in. And, so what you're doing is you are, we were talking about entrainment earlier. You're going to entrain your cells back. You're going to, re-energize the mitochondria of your cells. You're going to be able to, harmonize. So, for example, there's two things I wanted to share. One is a YouTube video. You can find it, of yeast cells, and there's a different sound and a different pattern of these yeast cells, one that's well and one that's unhealthy. And there's a guy called John Reed who invented a machine called the cymoscope. So it's a study of cymatics, and basically the idea is you can see on a physical level the how matter is changed through sound and frequency. And so, we are reharmonizing with the pattern of the Himalayan bowl. Is so beautiful. It's so like a beautiful sunflower seed in the middle, or a dandelion seed, this sacred geometry that is created. So imagining ourselves having this sacred geometry, reprinted on it. But on a very, very basic level, there's videos out there of a hose pipe with water, you play a particular frequency and the water starts to curl round in a spiral. If anyone's listening who's interested in taking this further, look at cymatics, because then we realize just how careful and how discerning really we should be with what it is we listen to. If we really are aware of how sound can affect our bodies, then would we always be listening to thrash metal? I love techno, hard house. I love nothing better than being in a sweaty club, even now at the age of 46, every now and again, and really, really listening to pounding hard music. I love it. It really does something very sensory to me, because it kind of takes over, your body with the bass. Could I do that every weekend without having some kind of impact? No. And my experience is I did used to do it every weekend as a DJ, and it did have a negative impact. Just putting it out there, kids, it's all about moderation. So thinking about it now, the noise, the sirens, I sit in the garden and I'm surrounded by this bird song. And I'm like, how amazing is this to be able to be having this like sound healing, really? And again, you could realize that actually a lot of the bird song is territorial fighting between the birds. But removing that aside, for us, it's very soothing on that frequency of bird song. And I think we need to seek out harmonious sound, seek out sound that brings us joy. We're talking about the energizing. So we're using our bodies. We're kind of coming out of this ego tightness and coming into fluidity, and then going back into silence. And we can do that whatever works for us, but movement, dance, music, but then always and relax. That's how I flow.
I love moving meditation. I think that's my thing. I always need the music for everything what I do. If I want to be creative, if I want to write something, if I want to respond to some email, I need to put music on, because that kind of inspires me. And when it comes to exercise, I'm very lazy. So I will exercise if I have music with it, and if it's going to be some kind of a dance or something. Other than that, I don't think. No, it just would not happen.
I would, and if the physical, going to the gym, people are struggling with their physical exercise, dance is the best way. 5 rhythms, I don't know if you've heard of 5 rhythms. Oh, please go and explore 5 rhythms. It is the most amazing experience where you're led through, she calls it waves, where you're led from a very quiet place into, it's called staccato, so the music's very kind of moving your body, and then you go into chaos, which is like just usually some kind of psytrance or something quite like big and bold, and then back down again. But it's done a bit like a DJ set, but it's done intentionally, because the beautiful thing about dancing like that and not in a nightclub is, what does your body want to do? How does your body want to move? So sometimes if you're doing like a conscious dance where you're actually responding to your body, and you start to release energy and tightness and emotions that are held in your body, this is embodied work, and you may find you're doing something quite strange, which were you to do it on a dance floor, everyone might think, she's a bit weird. But when you're there doing it, whether it's in your home or as part of a group, that's what your body wants to do, and your body loves to be listened to. It's like, yes, I have a body. Hello there. Thank you so much for noticing. And you're doing some weird kind of jiggle with your shoulder or your knee or whatever. And then it resolves. It's the same, like, it's that kind of dissonance. You're doing something and then coming into a bit more harmony. And that's all we're trying to do. We're just trying to live a life a bit more balanced, a bit more harmonious, a bit freer, and not be so tight. Just take a breath, people.
Love it. Let's talk about serendipity, manifestation, your TED talk. just throwing it in because everybody that's why everybody wants to talk to you. You've done the TED Talk.
I know.
How many downloads have you got? I think, what is it, over 1 million or something? No.
Well, last time I looked, it was 1.3 million, which I would just like to put out there. When I got 1,000 people, I was like, oh my God, look, I've got 1,000 people. Look at my TED Talk. It was like nothing. You know, this was something that was very, very unexpected. And somebody said, oh, you know, you should apply. And I did, and got in and did it. And it was, you know, honestly, I never expected the response, but I think people are so ready. It really, really resonates with people because it's like, it makes so much sense. And I think people really, you know, the talk was, the theme for the TED Talk was serendipity. And obviously coming from a sound perspective, it was like, okay, well, you know, how does using sound and vibration help with serendipitous moments? And I think this, you know, we talk about the word perception. So when we come from a place of love, a place of balance, a place of harmony, you know, the eyes that we look out at the world see things through a different filter. And that is, you know, a key part of it. You know, our eyes are very limited in what they can actually see. So if we start to program, you know, our brain to see through these eyes, then first of all, our reality is going to actually genuinely look different, which is why, you know, I can see, you know, we can be in the same situation and have different experiences and see different things, to the point where, you know, I'm in a carpet shop with my husband, and he's like, that's a green carpet. I know that's a brown carpet. No, it's green. But we had the entire shop was debating what color this carpet was. And that's the thing. We all have these different experiences. So first of all, using sound to create this harmony, to lift our vibration, helps us see things much clearer. And the other thing is this idea of this entrainment and this resonance. When we are coming from that place, we're tuning in. Like, I know people talk about you know, the law of attraction and Esther Hicks, and there's lots of, you know, comments of, you know, how she talks about it. This idea of tuning into different radio stations. So I'm me, you're you, different people, different things going on in the same situation. What are you tuning into? You know, what am I tuning into? Is this going to be, am I going to be able to see that person and feel confident to approach them? Are they going to look at me, see someone who is relaxed, happy, confident, whatever it may be, and want to come to me and connect with me? You know, so it's a very practical thing. You know, coming to your sort of, you know, your highest vibration is a very practical thing. You're going to have a better experience in life when you're able to connect with people. Situations, you know, will start to come to you. You don't have to strive so hard. And can I quantify this? If you know, somebody said to me, well, where's the research on this? Where's the research? Where's the data? I'll be honest with you, I don't have it, but I do have my experience. And my experience is when I'm coming from that place of groundedness, of fullness, my life flows. So my life has changed on some very key moments that had nothing to do with my striving. I was prepared for them, but then I met a random person and my life just suddenly went over there, in a positive way. And I think that's the thing about serendipity. You are coming from a place of awareness. You're awake. You're alert. You're looking for opportunities, but also at the same time, when those opportunities come knocking on your door, you're able to go with the flow of them. Does that make sense? It's but it's also about our ego and getting ourselves out of our own way. You know, it's not all about a to-do list and goals and striving. Serendipitous moments are those moments after you've done your practice, you've put the work in, you're not sitting on your backside, you've taken action basically, But then when you're living in the flow and you're you know, in the flow of life, these serendipitous moments come in and they just create ease. They create a little bit of joy here and there, and life just becomes easier.
Absolutely. And I think it's very relevant to mention serendipity, because we're talking about the raising vibration and changing the vibration or changing the frequency, right? So if you do that, you will attract a like attracts like. I think that's what I would say.
I'll be honest with you, you know, everything is in a relationship, whether it's your husband, whether it's the person in the corner shop, you know, your boss, whatever, everything is relationship. And so depending on what our personal frequency is will depend on the relationship we have with these people. And the thing about using the idea of sound and frequency, I really hold on to this in my, you know, trickiest, most challenging times. So rather than looking at that person and going, you need to change this isn't working, or looking at your relationship and going, this isn't working, ask yourself, what can I do? How can I, you know, lighten my how can I raise my frequency? How can I be a better person? How can I, well, I'm really angry. How can I transform my anger into a place of love or gratitude? And I promise you, and I'm actually going to put a guarantee on this, you know, if you look at yourself and change your frequency, then those relationships around you will change. And the real relief in this is the people around you will have no choice, because of this idea of, you know, sort of resonant frequency. Those people will have no choice but to either change to be compatible with your new frequency, or to move away. You cannot stay with a dissonant relationship. Now, some relationships are unhealthy because they're familiar. So if you've had an unhealthy relationship or upbringing or something, and you come into a relationship with someone who has a similar vibration, it will feel comfortable to you because it's a familiar vibrational match to what your childhood or your previous relationship was. But that's not to say it's necessarily healthy, but you start to work on your own personal vibration, you become healthier, you become more loving, then that person you're in relationship with will have no choice but to either match your new vibration or to move away. So you don't have to think, oh my gosh, you know, do I need to leave my husband? Oh my gosh, do I need to leave my job? Actually, when you come in terms of vibration, it all happens very naturally. Situations will just happen naturally. And that has given me great solace over the years, where I don't have to strive to make things happen. I can just look at myself. What is my part to play in this? What can I do vibrationally to make myself healthier? And everything else just flows from that. So I had this big debate when I was training. I've trained with 2 different colleges, which I'm really pleased I did, because they had very different takes on what sound is. So this is the thing, everyone looks.
How do we sustain our vibration? So we were talking about the balance. So if we're reaching the balance, obviously we are in and out of balance all the time, because there are things which are coming through, like phone calls, screaming children. Yes, how do we sustain the level?
So I like to relate the sound and vibration work with the polyvagal theory, which I mentioned before, which is about our nervous system. And the whole thing about maintaining our vibration is being flexible with it. So this is the idea of resilience. So 2 things really. On a practical level, it's repetition. It is understanding that actually it's a choice that we make. It's not like you have a sound bath and you're like, this is amazing, I feel great, I will never have to do any work on myself ever again, which has been known to happen. I think people might call them miracles. You know, this is, you know, it has been known to have a very, you know, clear and immediate effect. However, for general purposes in our busy lives, we have to make choices around how we work. So we do our sound work, we do our meditation, we seek silence, we look after our body on a physical level. We practice gratitude. We look at our behaviors and say sorry if we need to say sorry, because, you know, forgiveness is a very powerful vibrational state. But also it's understanding that we are physical beings with a nervous system. So when that phone call comes in, the traffic jam hits, the kids start screaming, we go into sympathetic fight or flight. And actually, that's okay, as long as we can come back to our heart space. They would call it ventral. But all this means is that when we are in our heart space, we're relaxed, we are grounded, we are open, we can see clearly, we can hear clearly. We're able to socially engage. So it's having that flexibility. If we go down into what's called dorsal, that's feelings of hopelessness, depression. I'm never going to get out of here. Very slow. Like a lot of the special needs children I work with, a lot of them are very heavy. It's that kind of real heavy energy. So again, we want to use things like movement, dance, fun. You know, that's the kind of thing that then brings it back up to the heart space. And it's just understanding really that, you know, we live in a noisy, busy world. So it's our responsibility to take that time for ourselves to start the day right. We say, you know, set the tone, which I love. Set the tone for the day, set the tone for whatever, which is literally the vibration. So start your morning by setting your tone, setting your intention. You're already, you know, visualizing your day ahead, not necessarily with specifics, but with emotions, and knowing when it all goes pear-shaped, you know, you have the power to come back to yourself, to take a moment, to lock the bathroom door, sit on the loo and breathe for 60 seconds, reset, out you go.
Thank you so much. Final last question. Where can listeners find you and get in contact with you?
Fabulous. So you can find me on Facebook as Joanna 𝐒𝐿, or Being of Sound Health, and also the website beingofsoundhealth.co.uk. I'll do the session and then I'll let you know when the session has ended. There'll be a period of silence at the end just to allow the sound to settle a little. If you find yourself sort of drifting off into to-do lists or anything that doesn't feel good for you in that moment, just bring your awareness back to your breath. You can maybe even look at your third eye, just imagining and just watching any visual pictures that may present itself to you, any patterns, colours. If you find any of the sounds uncomfortable, again, just bringing your awareness to your breath. See if you can breathe through it. But of course, if you do find anything uncomfortable, do feel free to let me know, or make yourself comfortable as you can at your end, as I'm not there to look after you. as you're lying there, just bringing your awareness back to your body, your breath. Just taking a moment to scan down, starting at the head. Just really enjoying noticing how you're feeling. Taking a moment to marvel at our beautiful bodies. Being kind to ourselves. Really enjoying this sense of home. Sense of ease and space that you've created for yourself. Just bringing your thoughts back to your intention. Just really enjoying that sense of alignment. Knowing that when we allow things to unfold before us, it can take us to places we would never have dreamed of. Trusting the path that is in front of us. Our feet on the ground and our head in the stars. And giving thanks for the healing that's taken place today. Sending it out into the world for wherever it is needed most. Thank you, thank you, thank you. When you are ready, gently giving your toes a bit of a waggle, your fingers, maybe giving them a rub, having a stretch. Just doing what you need to do to make yourself comfortable, bringing yourself back. And when you're ready, gently opening your eyes and sitting yourself up.
Thank you for listening. I hope you have enjoyed this episode and that you have gained a lot of information. As I have just launched this podcast, I have decided to give 2 lucky listeners a free psychic reading each month for the period of next 3 months. These readings will be a combination of a tarot and a psychic channeling. To enter, all you need to do is leave a review in the iTunes store, take a screenshot of it, send it to me on barbramay@gmail.com, which is BARBRAMAYSHOW@gmail.com. As you may already know, reviews are very important for podcasts, and they will help podcasts to expand and direct the important topics discussed to the appropriate audience. At the end of every month, I will announce the winner on my Instagram, which is @TheBarbraMayShow. So keep your eyes peeled